price ceilings and price floors are government-imposed limits that interfere with the natural equilibrium of supply and demand. Now, let us first have a look at price ceiling. In this case, you have the initial situation where you have the demand function and you also have a supply function, and this market is in equilibrium indicated by Q star and P star. Now, a price ceiling sets a legal maximum price, typically below the equilibrium, with the goal of keeping goods affordable for consumers. A classic example is rent control, where the ceiling prevents landlords from charging above a specific amount but can create shortages of available housing as demand exceeds supply. So let us illustrate how this works. Now, we have the initial equilibrium price, and now the price ceiling is set below that price. So consider here that we have the price ceiling. Now, in this case, producers are only allowed to charge P bar. Now, in this case, we will see that now producers on the supply function, they're only going to provide, let's call this QC for the ceiling, and hence what they are providing to the market also sets the quantity that is actually traded in the market. Good. So now you see the following. Since QC is the quantity traded in the market, given that we have the price ceiling, the consumer surplus is significantly larger than the surplus under the natural equilibrium. So here we are going to have this entire area, which is now the consumer surplus, given the price ceiling. Now, the producer surplus is significantly reduced from this triangle to just this little triangle here. Okay? So here we have the producer surplus. Now, the problem with the price ceiling, and we will see that this also is true for a price floor, is that now we have this area here, which is considered a deadweight loss. Okay? The reason is that since we have now QC, that the efficient quantity would be in a competitive market, in a perfectly competitive market would be Q star. But now only QC is traded, so this entire surplus to society is lost. Now, with a price floor, on the other hand, the price floor sets a legal minimum price for a good or service, usually above the equilibrium level, with the intention to support producers. For example, minimum wage laws establish a floor in the labor market, ensuring workers earn at least a certain hourly rate. But however, those price floors also lead to excess supply. Okay? Now, in some countries, as another example, you also have alcohol pricing laws that act as a price floor, such as Scotland's minimum unit pricing for alcohol introduced in 2018 that aims at curbing excessive consumption of alcohol by preventing very cheap sales. Now, let us have a look of how a price floor actually works. As opposed to a price ceiling, where the price ceiling is set below the equilibrium price, the price floor is set above the equilibrium price. So think about here as the price floor. Okay. Now here in this situation, we have the new price or the new equilibrium. Let's call this QS, okay, for the quantity under the price floor, because now consumers are not demanding anymore, not demanding Q star anymore, because the price is more expensive. Now, what this leads to is that we now have the consumer surplus, which previously was this triangle here, and it is now only this little triangle here. Okay, so this is the consumer surplus. The producer surplus is larger because now the producer surplus is this entire area here. Okay? So that would be the producer surplus. Remember that a price floor benefits producers and the price ceiling benefits consumers. But very much like with the price ceiling, we now have a deadweight loss. That is marked by this triangle here. Now note that in the case of the price floor, we do have the situation, since we have the higher price, that we can have excess supply. Okay. So both interventions in a perfectly competitive market lead to a deadweight loss.